Hello, everybody. We are starting on learning Rambam every day, one chapter a day. In 3 years, we will learn the whole Torah. So we'll start with the first part of Rambam, which is the introduction. God willing, we will do this for 10 minutes every day. So the Rambam starts his book, in the name of God, Lord of the world. And then he continues another verse. Then I will not be ashamed when I gaze at all your mitzvot. Okay, that was the heading of the Rambam. Now let's open the book and look inside. The Rambam says like this: all the mitzvahs that were given by Hashem were given in three ways by the Ten Commandments, called in Hebrew the Luchot Aven. These 10 Commandments were given in front of all the Jews standing by Har Sinai. We're the only religion that 6 million people altogether saw God speaking to Moses. Now, after the 10 Commandments were given, all the Jews went to their tents, and Moshe went up to the mountain for 40 days, another 40 days, and another 40 days. He didn't eat, didn't drink. All he did was learn with God the whole Torah. After that, he came back down and learned with all the Jews, every single Jew, millions of Jews, every single law that God gave him up on the mountain. Now, this tradition went from all the Jews, millions of Jews, in times of Moshe, generation after generation, till the times of the Rambam. So it's very important to understand of every single aspect of our tradition, because this is what shows us how true the Torah is. So now we're going to go step by step from Moshe Rabbeinu, our teacher, till the present time, and especially until the time of the Rambam. Okay, so now it says that God gave Moses Torah and mitzvah. Torah, we know what the Torah is. We see it on Shol and Shabbat. It's the Torah scroll in the Ark. Then mitzvah, the Rambam explains, is the oral Torah. The Torah that Moshe did not write down on a piece of paper, on a parchment. He said it to the 70 elders that were with him, Yehoshua, and all the Jews. Now, the Torah, Moshe wrote 12 Torahs. Each one he gave to one tribe. Now, one Torah, the even more special, he put it in the Ark, in the holies of holies in the temple. There was a Torah, all the generations. In the Ark, and today actually the Ark is still there in its place under the holies of holies. There's a Torah that God wrote, that Moses wrote, word for word from God, and it's still sitting there in the Ark. Now, the mitzvah, which is the explanation, he did not, right? Like I said before, he gave it over to all the Jews, Yehoshua and every single one of the Jews, but mainly Yehoshua, because Joshua, was Moses' special student that never left Moses the whole 24/7, was following him and learning from him for the 39 years, from when Moses got the Torah till when the Jews entered Israel. Now, together with Yehoshua, there were 70 sages, the leaders of the Jews, 70 most wise people in the Jews, and Elazar, which was the high priest after Aaron, and Pinchas. After Yehoshua became the leader of the Jewish nation, he gave it over to the next generation, to its elders, and especially Pinchas, which he learned from Moses, Pinchas of last Parsha. He learned from Moshe, but also the next generation, he was younger than Yehoshua, he learned from Yehoshua. Then Eli, which was the high priest in his time, learned from Pinchas. Shmuel, the famous Navi Shmuel, he learned and got the Torah from Eli. Then King David got it from Shmuel. Then from King David and his court, there was a special student called Achia Hashilani. He was actually he left Egypt. He was very young. He learned from Moses, and he lived a very, very long life. He became the chief rabbi of all the Jews after King David. So he learned from King David. He actually was a Levite. Eliyahu Hanavi learned from Achia Hashilani, and Elisha learned from Eliyahu Hanavi. Then Yehoyada HaKohen, a very, very special Kohen Gadol, he learned from Eliyahu Hanavi. And then, from Elisha. And then Zechariah, a very big prophet, learned from Yehoyada. And then Hosea received from Zechariah. Then Amos received from Hosea. Then Yeshaya, the famous prophet, he accepted the Torah and learned from Amos. Then Micha learned from Yeshaya. Yoel learned from Micha. Nachum learned from Yoel, from Joel. Chavakuk learned from Nachum. Tzefaniah learned from Chavakuk. Yirmiyah learned from Tzefaniah. Baruch ben Neriah learned from Yirmiyah. And Ezra learned from Baruch ben Uriah. Okay, now we went through so many generations quickly, just telling you every single generation because it's very important to know the whole chain of Torah. So now we went through thousands of years, went from Moshe till Ezra. Ezra is the famous leader of the Jews that brought the Jews back from exile, the first exile, back to build the second temple. He established a new court called Knesset Hagdalah, the Great Assembly. And in that great assembly, there were very famous Jewish leaders. One of them is Chagai, Zechariah, Malachi, Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, Azariah, Nehemiah ben Chachiliah, and Mordechai, the famous Mordechai Bilshan, and Zerubbabel. And with them, 120 very great sages that were part of his great assembly. The last one surviving from all this great 120 rabbis was Shimon HaTzadik, very, very great leader of the Jews. He got the Torah. He was a student of every single one of these 120. So this Rabbi Shimon HaTzadik, of course, had the Torah almost word for word from Moses himself because it kept on going to thousands and thousands of people, and especially to the greatest rabbi had his student, and he taught it his student. Now we're going to go through a few more generations. This is in the times of the second temple. Antignois. Those who learn Pirkei Avot know all these names, very familiar. Antignois Ish Seichai, he got from Shimon HaTzadik. Yosi ben Yezer and Yosi ben Yechanan, they received from Antignois. Yeshua ben Prachia and Nita Harbeli, they received from Yosi ben Yezer and Yosi ben Yechanan. Yehuda ben Tava and Shimon ben Shaddach, they received from Yeshua ben Prachia and Nita Harbeli. Shemaiah v'Avtalion, which they were actually converts, righteous converts, they received from Yehuda and Shimon. Hillel and Shammai, the famous Hillel, the famous Shammai, and their court. Of course, each rabbi didn't just have his single, he didn't rule by himself. He had a whole court, a whole yeshiva with him. They received from Shemaiah and Avtalion. Rabbi Yechanan ben Zakkai, the famous Rabbi Yechanan ben Zakkai, and Shimon and Rabbi Shimon, the son of Hillel, the Hillel Zakkai, the first Hillel, they received from them, from Hillel and Shammai and their court. Now, there were 5 students of Rabbi Yechanan ben Zakkai, and they're the most famous ones in the Talmud, the most famous students. They are Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Yeshua, Rabbi Yosi HaKohen, Rabbi Shimon ben Nesanel, and Rabbi Elazar ben Arach. If you look in the Pirkei Avot, there's a lot of interesting explanations about the specialty of each one, why he had to have 5, the uniqueness of each one. Rabbi Akiva, the famous Rabbi Akiva, actually his father was a convert. He received from Rabbi Eliezer and from Rabbi Eliezer Hagadol, the student of Rabbi Yechanan ben Zakkai. Rabbi Yishmael and Rabbi Meir, which was also a child of a ger, of a convert, they received from Rabbi Akiva. And they also received from Rabbi Meir and his friend, and Rabbi Meir also received from Rabbi Yishmael. So sometimes in generations, someone's a young student, so he's a student of this old rabbi, then the old rabbi passes away. So the young student is not old enough to become a rabbi himself, so he learns from the next generation. So he's a student of 2 generations. Okay, now we're going to go through the friends of the colleagues of Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yosi, Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Nehemiah, Rabbi Elazar ben Shemua, Rabbi Yechanan HaSandler. He was actually a shoemaker. Rabbi Shimon ben Azai, Rabbi Hananiah ben Tradion. Now, by the way, going back, Rabbi Akiva, his colleagues also, also the friends of Rabbi Akiva, also we see were students of Rabbi Eliezer Hagadol. Who is the friends of Rabbi Akiva? It's very important because these are the biggest sages. Rabbi Tarfain, Rabbi Yosei Aglili, Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar, and Rabbi Yechanan ben Uri. Okay, we are almost done the whole chain of the giving of the Torah. Rabbi Gamliel, which is the son of Rabbi Shimon, which is the son of the famous Hillel, he received from his father. Rabbi Shimon, which is the son of Gamliel, received from Rabbi Gamliel. Now, the first Rabbi Gamliel, Rabbi Gamliel, which is the first Rabbi Gamliel, is called the old Rabbi Gamliel because there's 2 Rabbi Gamliel. So the older Rabbi Gamliel received from his father. Then Rabbi Shimon, which is his son, received from him. And then Rabbi Shimon, then Gamliel received from Rabbi Shimon. Then Rabbi Shimon received from Rabbi Gamliel. So there's Shimon, Gamliel, Shimon, Gamliel, Shimon. So there's 3 Shimons and 2 Gamliels in between. Now, the way we know the difference is One's the old Gamliel, one's the young Gamliel, or just Gamliel. Then there's Rabbi Shimon, and then there's Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel. That's how we know in the Torah which one's who. Then the son of the last Shimon was the one that we need to get to, Rabbi Yehuda. He was called Rabbeinu HaKadosh, the holy rabbi, our holy rabbi. He was the author of the Mishnah, and he received from his father, and Elazar ben Shamuah, and Rabbi Shimon, and Rabbi Shimon, his friend. Now, the reason why it's so important to understand who Rabbeinu HaKadosh is, Rabbi Yehuda, is because he made the Mishnah. Now, the problem is, the oral Torah, God said, should be oral. You should be oral. You should only be speaking it. You shouldn't write it down. So why did Rabbeinu HaKadosh write the Mishnah, which is writing down word for word from the laws that are meant to be said and not be written? So now the Rambam is going to explain. We're almost up to the punchline. So Rabbeinu HaKadosh wrote the Mishnah in a new fashion that was never done before, because every single generation the Jewish leaders only wrote their own notes themselves, but writtenly there was nothing written, only said, and he wrote down every single one. And the reason is every single law. And the reason is because in his time it was a new era. There was a lot of decrees on the Jews, and it used to be until this Rabbeinu HaKadosh until his time, all the Jews went to yeshiva together. So each yeshiva had thousands of students, and the Jews were receiving the Torah generation after generation with thousands of people together. In times of Rabbeinu HaKadosh, it became almost illegal to learn Torah. So everybody would learn quietly in their house, and people weren't able to learn together. So he was scared that people would forget what the laws of the Torah. So he said that because of the time, we have to change, so to speak, a little bit the Jewish tradition, and we're going to have to write down word for word every single law of the Torah. And in the plus, another plus of this is not only that it won't be forgotten, but also now it's easier to learn it fast because you have a whole book, so you can read it very fast, and everyone will be able to memorize the whole Torah. I see we're a little bit ahead of time, but let's go further. Okay, so now this is different than usual Rambam. Usually the Rambam is laws, and now we're going to go. This is the introduction, so it's a bit set up a bit different. Usually it's going to be shorter than this class. Okay, so now the great students of Rabbeinu HaKadosh was Shimon and Gamliel, his two kids, Rabbi Ephes, Rabbi Hanania ben Chama, Rabbi Chia, Rabbi Yanai, Bar Kapara, Shmuel, Rabbi Yechanan, Rabbi Yeshaya. These great sages, they received from Rabbeinu HaKadosh, from the author of the Mishnah, and with them tens of thousands of Jews learned from him, Rabbeinu HaKadosh himself. Even though these 11 received from Rabbeinu HaKadosh himself, Rabbi Yechanan, which was one of the 11, which he's the author of the Talmud Yerushalmi, the Jerusalem Talmud, he was very young, so therefore he was also a student of Rabbi Yanai, and he received from him also Torah. And also Rav also was a student of Rabbi Yanai, and Shmuel, famous Rabbi Shmuel, he received from Hanania bar Chama. Rav, he's the author of the famous book called Sifra and Sifri. They explain the Mishnah. Rabbi Chia, he is the author of Tosefta, to explain what is what's the concepts, what's the meaning of the Mishnah. Rabbi Shaya and Bar Kapara, they made Brisa to explain the Mishnah. And Rabbi Yechanan, which he is the author of the Jerusalem Talmud, he wrote down the Talmud 300 years after the destruction of the Second Temple. From the greatest scholars learning from Rav and Shmuel, Rav Huna, Rav Yehuda, Rav Nachman, Rav Kana. From the great sages learning from Rabbi Yechanan was Rabbi Bar Bar Chana, Rabbi Yami, Rabbi Yasi, Rabbi Dimi, Rabbi Avin. From all the sages that received from Rav Huna and Rabbi Yehuda, the main ones were Rabbah and Rabbi Yosef. From all the students that received from Rabbah and Rabbi Yosef, the main sages were Abaye and Rava. And they also received from Rabbi Nachman, along with Rabbah and Rabbi Yosef. From all the students learning from Rabbah was Rav Ashi and Ravina. The child of Rav Ashi was Mar Bar Rav Ashi, and he received from Rav Ashi and Ravina. Now, this is very important because Rav Ashi is the author of the Talmud Bavli, the famous Talmud that everybody knows about. Rav Ashi wrote it. he was 40 generations from Moshe Rabbeinu. So the Talmud actually turns out to be almost word for word given from God by Mount Sinai. Now, we're going to explain in a minute that the Sanhedrin, the Jewish court, was able to make new laws, but this is because God said that every single generation, when there's a Sanhedrin, the Jewish court in the temple, they have the power to make new laws that are not written in the Torah through special ways and rules how to do it. Very complicated. I'm not going to get into it, but this is a Jewish tradition from Moshe Rabbeinu till the Talmud. Talmud is thousands of pages, and it's all given the Jewish tradition from Har Sinai, from God till Rav Ashi. Okay, so we're going to go through quickly again, 40 generations from Moshe Rabbeinu till Rav Ashi. We're going to go from bottom up. What are the 4 generations? Rav Ashi from Rava, Rava from Rabba, Rabba from Rav Huna, Rav Huna from Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Shmuel from Rabbeinu HaKadosh, Rabbeinu HaKadosh from Rabbi Shimon, his father, Rabbi Shimon from his father Gamliel, Rabbi Gamliel from his father Shimon, Rabbi Shimon from his father the old Gamliel, Rabbi Gamliel from Rabbi Shimon, his father, Rabbi Shimon from Hillel and Shammai, which Hillel was the father of Rabbi Shimon. Hillel and Shammai from Shemaiah and Atalion, Shemaiah and Atalion from Yehuda and Shimon, Yehuda ben Shimon from Yeshua ben Prachia and Nitai Harabeli, Yeshua and Nitai from Rabbi Yesi ben Yezer and Nesa ben Yechanan, Yesi ben Yezer and Nesa ben Yechanan from Antignes, Antignes from Shimon HaTzadik, Shimon HaTzadik from Ezra, Ezra from Baruch, Baruch from Yirmiyah, Yirmiyah from Tzfania, Tzfania from Chavakuk, Chavakuk from Nachum, Nachum Yael, Yael Micha, Micha from Yeshaya, Yeshaya from Amos, Amos from Yeshaya, Yeshaya from Zechariah, Zechariah from Yayada, Yayada from Elisha, Elisha from Eliyahu, Eliyahu from Achia, Achia from David, David from Shmuel, Shmuel from Eli, Eli from Pinchas, Pinchas from Yeshua, and Yeshua from Moshe Rabbeinu, our teacher, and Moshe received it from Hashem himself. Comes out that every single word in the Talmud and every single word of Jewish law is coming from Hashem himself. Okay, 17 minutes. That was very fast. We could have done that in an hour. Okay, everyone have a great day. This is just the beginning. Soon we're going to get down to nitty-gritty laws. How do we know that there's a God? How should we serve him? How are we meant to think? How are we meant to act? How are we meant to react? How are we meant to treat our friends? How are we meant to treat our children? Every single part of life, we're going to learn about exactly how it should be done, how God wants it to be done in the next classes within 3 years. Good luck.